teenager who's joined the show here right now.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Soroya Bacchus, who has, you're an MD,
yes.
You're a psychiatrist. I just want to, people understand.
Yes.
You went through medical school for how many years?
4 years of medical school.
Internship?
A year of internship, 3-4 years of residency, and then for myself, fellowship included.
So she's qualified. What are you doing? Is this a resume and you know
maybe a little bit.
I wanted to distinguish. Different people come on and people perceive them the same way, even though your specialties.
You are credentialed up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We want to talk about this fire issue. 55 fires. There's a person of interest who's been taken in. What is going on? The nature of people who need to set fires as opposed to people who set fires for insurance?
Well, there's setting fires for insurance, but you're talking about a criminal act versus somebody who might actually be a pyromaniac or somebody who enjoys actually setting fires.
So you get a weird thrill out of this?
Out of possibly killing people?
Out of, not so much killing people, but destroying property.
But it could lead to killing people.
It could, of course.
Do they think about that?
Not necessarily.
You know, when this fire started...
totally random?
No. This is a deliberate act.
Do you think he lives in this neighborhood?
He very much lives in the neighborhood. He knows the neighborhood well.
Well, but he's been all over the place.
Yeah,
but it was major in Hollywood.
But he has incendiary devices. I'm hearing it's very deliberate.
Doctor, I'm sorry. Let me ask a very basic question, and you give the answer here. I understand that this is almost like a form of addiction, and that there's impulse control issues, and that a tension builds up that can only be relieved by setting fires. Yes. Would that apply to this, do you think?
Yes, but there's a little bit of a difference. It's not necessarily a compulsive behavior. Impulsivity is different from compulsivity. Compulsivity is a behavior to relieve anxiety, where impulsivity is a behavior in response to arousal.
Well, why do you think
they're getting off on setting fires?
Well, let me ask you this. Last week when this fire started, I said to my husband, it's probably a middle-aged white guy. Why are there profiles like, and then there he is today, I go, yep. Why is that?
Well, I would think more, it certainly is gender, it's gender specific, it's usually men, it's usually white men. Yeah. But you have to look at the area here. This is a very particular, very affluent, or from what I would see, people who have means and affability that you wouldn't necessarily have in other parts of LA. This is somebody who knows this area, somebody who lives there. He might be blue collar, middle class, but he knows this area well.
Yeah. So your thought is this is being done out of kind of fun, not spite?
It's
excitation.
Yeah.
He enjoys setting the fire.
Does he get off on the coverage of it?
There's the fascination of the fires.
Does he watch the coverage and love it?
They leave the scene, or they might be close enough to where they're actually involved in the response.
In most TV movies about it, the firebug comes back to the scene.
They want to be the hero.
Is that accurate?
It is.
Okay.
They love watching the fire, they love the response, and they love participating in the response. This might be now somebody who not only knows how to set fires, but is a rescue person or somebody who's involved.
Didn't that happen recently? Well, not a few years ago.
That has happened many times.
Yes.
And there was also a guy who set fires and he killed 5 firefighters. So then it becomes murder charge.
Then that's when you have arson itself as a
in terms of treatment, because you treat people with addictions, is this like treating somebody who has the addiction who must gamble to relieve the tension, who must have sex to relieve the tension?
Yes, but no. I mean, the first intervention here, it has to be, the behavior has to stop. And it has to be police, and it has to be legal. And once the behavior is stopped, he's incarcerated. There's some kind of legal maneuvers that have been put in place.
But why do you think, and I know it's a conjecture, but this is one guy who all of a sudden, we think, all of a sudden started doing this continuously and compulsively. It's not like one here and one there every couple of weeks.
He's had predilections for a while.
But this is new.
Something's triggered this. There might be symbolic. There might be some crisis going on.
Revenge?
Maybe possibly revenge.
Can I go back to the basic? How do we know? Kids like to start fires, right? They're fascinated with fire. How do you know that your kid is possibly somebody who's going to suffer from this?
If there's a repeat of the instances, or several. It's not normal to normalize the behavior. Oh, I used to do it, it's okay. No, it's not. And in fact, when you notice your child having those behaviors, you need to make sure that their mental health professional is included in those discussions.
The guy that they have as a person of interest, not quite a suspect, whatever that means, red tape, but he seems to be very proud, like he's smiling. He was smiling at the cameras.
I saw that video. He's even got a swagger.
Yeah.
He's pretty proud of what he's done, and he enjoys the fact that he's doing this.
I agree.
One of the questions that comes up in the very beginning, they thought either there were copycat people or...
By the way, Shaquille O'Neal has nothing to do with it.
That was just sorry, that was weird.
Okay. That there were people, other people involved, because how could somebody set so many fires in disparate
there might have been a
locations?
copycat or two, and that might have been that Inglewood fire.
Right.
And that's sort of this sort of a mob mentality. When one person does it, somebody else thinks they can kind of, yeah, they can, oh, I can get to jump on the bandwagon as well.
The percentage of people who actually suffer from this would be what?
From actual pyromania is very, very...
It's like he's enjoying the attention.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. And that's what this is about. And they go home, they see the coverage, they see the newspapers, the news shows that talk about it. It's like they get off on it.
He enjoys the attention. He enjoys the fact that there is such a huge response to
But is there, and this is what I don't understand when you talk about the difference between acting compulsively as opposed to impulsively.
Compulsivity meaning I'm anxious and I have to do something to relieve it.
I must relieve this tension.
Yes. Impulsivity, I get off on doing this. It makes me feel good. I get a certain amount of gratification.
Pleasure.
Right, but isn't there, I mean, these are labels, and we tend to put labels on things so we understand them, but I would think that these things meet at the middle often.
Both of them are disorders where there's poor regulation or poor self-control. That's the commonality.
Self-control.
But there is a difference in terms of the motivations of the two.
Got it.
Meaning compulsivity
and when you have somebody who's a fire starter for profit, you know, people who start fires for the insurance reasons.
Insurance fraud.
Do they often suffer from this as well, or is this just cold-blooded?
No, that's just plain straight up. Antisocial, money, I'm a criminal, and I've committed a crime.
One other question before you go. It seems like we are spending much more time and understanding on issues of addiction.
Yes.
Is it because we live in a world where there is more addiction, or there's just more psychiatrists?
More coverage of it.
I think there's just more coverage of it. It's a little bit more sensationalized.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's always been obsessive-compulsive people, obsessive-compulsive behaviors. Addiction has always been an issue. Certainly it's increasing.
And do you think shows like Celebrity Rehab are helpful, very helpful?
They can be, but in some ways I think sort of instigated and maybe, well, why not divert to a pill and maybe do this, or, you know, that's a great idea.
I had the side of it. I mean, Amber Smith on the side of the floor vomiting for 2 days. I don't want to do that. You know?
But does it also play to narcissism and attention?
That's what I was going to say. I think it just becomes narcissism.
And that can be another addiction, too.
Exactly.
Do you have a few extra hours in your schedule for this?
I think I can hook him up.
Well, you know,
I can give you.
I studied to be a shrink.
He'll end up the
R1.
Yeah.
I can fit you in. I can fit, I misunderstood. I can fit you in. You be the analyst, and I will be the doctor.
I love that.
Your credentials, 4 years of med school. Yeah. He's been here 17 years. He is my shrink.
I have much more real-world experience sitting here. It's a pleasure. Come see us again, all right?
It's a pleasure.
Soroya Bacchus, thank you so much. You're, by the way, you're practicing in Torrance, but it's...
I'm actually here in Santa Monica now.
She's actually here in Santa Monica.